check this out, y'all. Why does Janno Lieber want to see us get assaulted? Why do he don't want to see us make it back home to our families? Because this is the narrative that he's spewing. And they always spew this narrative around contract time. Now I'm going to play this video because I want to bring you guys up to speed as to what I am talking about. So check it out.
Why are fares being raised so much within the years? That's a good question to ask.
Okay.
So 80% of the money the MTA spends goes just to labor, to our workforce. It's the people who drive the buses, who operate the trains, who maintain the trains and buses, who do all the work. So that's really the principal cost that the MTA is faced with is labor. And we all know that the cost of living has gone up. We work with our unions. We're also trying to make union contracts, and this is always part of the bargaining, to make us a more efficient organization in the work that we do. But it's about labor. That's where the money goes.
Last question. Another one.
Now, let me tell y'all something. Janno Lieber was telling half-truths in that interview, and he could pull that stunt with certain journalists because they just don't know, right? So now he says 80% of the money goes to the labor workforce, right? And he ironically names the three titles that get assaulted the most, which is bus operators, train operators, and conductors, right? So why would he put in the public minds that most of our money go to these people? And guess what? When there's interruptions in service, when there's delays in service, not because of the bus operator, not because of the train operator or the conductor, he put us in harm's way because we are the first person that they see. The riding public already think that transit workers of all titles, especially if you wear a uniform, they think that we are beholden to them. They think that we are their personal chauffeurs. They think that we are their gophers, right? They think that. And to put in their head that the money, why the fare, and you framing it around fares. Oh, the fares got to go up because we got to pay the labor workforce. See, look, let me tell you guys something. When a bus breaks down and there's a delay in bus service, it's not that bus operator fault 90% of the time. It's the MTA fault. It's Janno Lieber fault because the bus operator don't order those cheap buses with those cheap parts or can't get the parts to fix the bus that continuously break down. That's not the bus operator fault. That's the MTA workers' fault that you don't see, that be in uniform like Janno Lieber that make these decisions. When there's a broken rail in the system, that's not the train operator or the conductor fault. That's the MTA fault. That's Janno Lieber fault because they order cheap rails knowing that it's not going to hold up. And guess what? It don't hold up. There's a good delay, a gap, or a reroute in service, and the customers are upset at the first people they see, which is the train operator, the conductor, and even the cleaners on the platform or in the terminal, right? This is who they are mad at, and we don't control any of these things, right? And we're already seeing what happened with the 179 train cars, those lemons that they ordered that caused disaster of delays throughout the whole New York City transit system. Right? We wasn't ordering those trains. We ain't have no input on how those trains were designed or anything like that. It was people who never did our jobs before telling us that. People who barely ride the system at that. Right? So now, another thing he mentions, because trust me, ride with me on this one. I'm going to show you guys something. When he mentions he works with the unions to make the contracts or whatever, the organization more efficient, right? What he means by more efficient and contracts and money, it's either they want to get free labor or cheap labor, right? They don't want to pay us transit workers what we are worth. And ironically, they are talking about New York City Transit only because guess what? Metro North get paid what they supposed to get paid. Right? The workers over there get what they supposed to get. Long Island Railroad, they get what they're supposed to get. New York City Transit, ironically, the agency within the MTA that is mostly black, Hispanic, and woman get treated the worst. But we're going to touch that on another day. But I want to show you guys something, because when he says MTA labor, he named basically a few titles, right? But why Janno Lieber didn't bring up his title? Because you want to know what? The feds pay for his salary too. And let's look at how much Janno Lieber got paid before he became the chairman. This is when he was the chief development officer. He got paid $343,542. Should a public servant get paid that much to not do nothing and throw their workers up under the bus? Absolutely not. Let's look at some other people who the people pay salaries to with the titles that Janno Lieber didn't name. How about this, Janno? How about the director of labor relations, John Schmidt? Yeah, the same John Schmidt who comes to work and sleep during arbitration hearings. How about that? Yes, the public is paying for Janno Lieber friends and cronies and his real colleagues, because they don't really look at the frontline workers as colleagues. It's all game, it's all BS. His real colleague, I ain't gonna say that's his friend. I don't know if that's his friend, but it's definitely his colleague. He pay him $125,468 to come to work to sleep. Right? There's multiple pictures floating around the internet of that. How about the other guy? How about Charles Hinchke, the chief officer, the assistant chief officer, who was found charges substantiated on him for nepotism and ethics violations, the same violations that other people have been fired for, but just because Charles Hinchke is in the old boys network, he was allowed to slip and slide over that, right? See, they don't want to talk about the riding public paying for those salaries. They just want to point fingers at ironically, the titles that get assaulted the most. But let me tell you guys something. See, Janno Lieber, he's a cold-blooded liar, right? And maybe that's what he gets paid for. But I remember John Samuelson said something very important, right? During the MTA board meeting, during the last contract, about how, matter of fact, I don't even want to say, let me just play it for you guys so you can hear for yourself.
Clear about everything, crystal clear. Clear about everything, crystal clear. We're bargaining a contract right now, and we're being told you have no operating money, but yet you're taking tens of millions of dollars, wage points worth of operating money that could be used to settle our agreements so that this system doesn't just continue to pressurize and transit workers get treated fairly and respectfully, as we've heard some of the speakers testify to. You continue to take money out of the operating budget, put it into the capital budget where we're flush with money, and then tell the unions that you have no money in the operating budget when you're taking money directly out of the fare box to pay for capital work that we're going to be flush with cash on. Well, that makes no sense. I just want everybody to understand that to be the case, and everybody to understand that is leading to the ongoing frustration of transit workers. Because it's my sense, because I've seen this movie before many times, that if we were to settle a concessionary contract, which we're not going to do, if we were to settle a concessionary contract, all of a sudden there would be a pullback into the operating budget of the pay-go capital that you had slated to pay for capital. As soon as you cried poverty and got what you need out of us, the money would come right back into the operating budget and you'd have no problems at all. That's the way I see it. That's the way transit workers see it. I'm sure that's the way my union brothers on this board see it. And that money that's going from the fare box into capital is money that should be injected into this contract settlement to avoid whatever conclusion this is going to come to, whatever ugly conclusion we're on the way to.
Now, let me say this. John Samuelson don't say too many true things, but this right here was spot on. He nailed it right here. He made it clear that the MTA routinely during contracts take money out of the operating budget, which is the fare box, which is whenever you guys pay a fare goes into the operating budget, which pays labor, right? But for contracts, they have the ability to take money out of the fare box and put it into the capital budget, right? Where John Samuelson said that it is flush with money, right? So Janno Lieber says that he pays or 80% of it goes to labor. Yeah, that's when they want it to, right? We don't really know what percentage go to labor if they continuously go inside the operating budget and put it in capital construction to make it look like they don't have money. And then as soon as we sign the contract, that money goes back from capital construction back into the operating budget where they find a surplus, right? This is the game and the sleight of hand Janno Lieber is playing right now, and we must not fall asleep at the wheel. This is a big game. This is a big game, and Janno Lieber's language is very dangerous, is very hostile, and is inconsiderate of the transit workers who work and put on a uniform or don't put on a uniform and come in every single day here. He knows what he's doing. He's not oblivious to what he is doing, right? He's not oblivious to what he is doing. Not at all. Not at all. And we're not going to allow him to slip and slide and sell these narratives that's detrimental to transit workers. He think that we don't want to go home at night. He think that we don't want to go back home in one piece the same way that we arrived. Do he think that? He got to be out of his mind. And this is why we're going to go back to his home to have another rally, to let his neighbors know what really going on. Like, I don't care if he's not at home. At this point, these rallies are going to be for his neighbors, so his neighbors can see what type of troublemaker, what type of tyrant that Janno, and I'm almost going to say a racist, because he only directing this type of narrative towards the part of the agency that's mostly Black, Hispanic, and women, right? We're going to go back to his home. Trust me when I tell you. Trust me when I tell you. Now, I need you guys to share out the show. I need you guys to like it. Like I said, Facebook got me shadow banned still. I need you guys to get these shows out there. And I also need you guys to donate to the platform. It's right there on Cash App, $ Progressive Action 100. Catch you guys later. Peace.